Thank you for appearing today. I want to compliment both of you for the excellent submissions you've made, detailed, practical, and also very well laid out. Mr. Reid, I'm very proud to have come from the mining industry, although less proud than I used to be because I've seen some abhorrent behaviours. I don't know if you're aware of what I've been doing. I've seen some abhorrent behaviours from significant operators in the mining and coal mining sector. Do you take, I don't want to put you in the dock, you're not in the dock, but does an industry body have some kind of responsibility over the employers? Because these employers, the rogue employers, are actually making it worse for everyone.
Well, I believe that we do. An important part of being an industry association is guiding members, setting and upholding standards that we believe should make an industry an attractive place to work, to invest, for people to stick around and want a long-term career in. So the short answer to your question, Senator, is yes.
How do you do that in practice?
Well, the key thing for AREA is that we're an industrial relations specialist organisation, and we've got a national team of industrial relations advisors, some with employment law backgrounds and some with backgrounds in from industry, and indeed a few that have got background as union officials. So a key part of what we do is ensuring that not only are enterprise agreements, common law contracts of employment, and just general policies and practices are at the top level industry standard and would comply with every piece of regulation and legislation in the country, but also assist those companies in setting themselves up to be a best practice employer. So I'm aware, Senator, and I have watched some of your representations and some of your campaigns with great interest. I understand the issues that are close to your heart, and all I would say to that is that if you know any mining employers who could use some really good industrial relations advice, send them our way, because certainly none of our members engage in the sort of practices that that you've certainly been campaigning over.
You mainly metal mining or coal?
We don't have great coal coverage.
Right, thank you.
Yep. Oil and gas as well. Yep.
Thank you. Look, I became so frustrated with dealing with the mining companies and industry bodies and this mining and energy union all wanted to ignore it, that I actually developed and introduced the Same Work, Same Pay bill, very simplified version of what we're seeing before us. Now I simply see the need to enforce the Fair Work Act. All of the problems have come from breaches of the Fair Work Act that the government, previous government, agencies, Fair Work Commission, Fair Work Ombudsman are not enforcing. Is the Fair Work Act starting to hurting industrial relations and systematically separating management from employers?
AREA's had a long-standing position that the industrial relations system is unnecessarily and overly complex. I won't take up the time of the committee today to go into some of the common issues that employers have, but put it this way, Senator, if you're in the business of providing employers, businesses with help and advice on how to interpret awards and set up enterprise agreements, pass Fair Work Commission processes, the boot tests, all these things, let alone when you get to all of the new issues of regulation and so on and so forth. It's a good business to be in because employers need a lot of help. It is a very complex IR system comparative to other international jurisdictions.
From what I've seen with the banks, for example, with Big Pharma and with industrial relations, large bodies of regulation help the powerful and protect the powerful and hide the powerful. Industrial relations regulations protect the industrial relations club. That's as I see it. And workers are not protected. They're vulnerable. As I said, what's happening in the Hunter Valley and in parts of central Queensland is due to not complying with the Fair Work Act. So it seems to me that we need to strip the Fair Work protections for workers down to something very, very simple, manageable, and enforced with really strong disciplinary procedures for anyone, including jail, for anyone who goes against these fundamental principles. The national employment standards and the awards are basically not even considered in some of the deliberations of the Fair Work Commission, the Fair Work Ombudsman, and mining companies, and the Mining and Energy Union in the Hunter Valley.
Well, they should be considered, and certainly the enterprise agreements that we negotiate, that they are. Every
person employed as a part of the permanent casual rort in the coal mining sector is employed under an enterprise agreement that was agreed to by the Mining and Energy Union and that breaches the award.
Okay, I'll take your evidence or your assertion on that, Senator. I haven't had a close look into that, but.
Sorry, the only way to illegally employ a casual in the Coal Mining Act is under the conditions I said. That would be more succinct.
I see. Well, it would require the Fair Work Commission to, make a mistake in applying the Better Off Overall test, which, it's possible that where, union signatories or union parties are on agreements that they tend to sail through the Commission, perhaps with less scrutiny than non-union agreements. But yeah, in terms of your assertion there, Senator, I don't really have great
statutory
response.
position, Mr. Reid. Statutory requirements as part of the process of developing an enterprise agreement and signing off on an enterprise agreement have been completely ignored. Contractors, important roles. Could you tell us what these roles are? I know you've answered Senator McDonald very, very well. Could you also tell us about what's your view of the proposed IR bill in terms of in this area of contractors?
Yeah, thanks, Senator. So until recently, probably the last few months, areas delegation to see Minister Burke in June, for instance. Was that in confidence? Were you sworn to keeping your discussions in confidence? Well, not necessarily. I mean, we did whenever we engage in membership activities like that, it's on the basis that that those companies aren't necessarily identified, but in terms of...
Did you have to sign a confidentiality agreement? Because we know of at least one other industry employer organisation that had to sign that before they...
We didn't have to sign any deeds or anything like that. Well, we did for, obviously, statutory legislative councils like the Court COIL and the NWRCC and those processes, but that's standard, that's standard practice. But no, in terms of the consultation with Minister Burke, we had some good consultation with Minister Burke, particularly around the middle of the year on the contractor test. So we were, I wouldn't say surprised, but a little disappointed to see that the provisions in the Closing Loopholes Bill did not put into practice what we were looking for, which is that clear express exemption. So you asked a question: what sort of companies are these? Well, you've got mining and petroleum production service companies, and they provide a full service to a client. Sometimes they take over complete operation.
Contracts from companies providing services rather than individual contracts.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so the distinction is not individual contractors, like in the building industry, for instance, like people who own their own boss. We're talking about companies with their own employees, with their own enterprise agreements, with their own systems, structures, processes of work. They provide supervisors. They provide their own plant. They're very different to labour hire. And and I don't want to downplay the important role that labour hire plays in the sector, because this bill is proposing some pretty dangerous disruptions of long-standing labour hire type models and arrangements in the sector. But the contracting service supply chain, that's a whole different ball game in the sense that there's hundreds, potentially thousands of specialist contracting companies that provide critical services to the resources and energy industry. And if all of a sudden those companies are basically shrouded in this omnipresent risk that they could be pulled into costly, complex litigation in the Fair Work Commission to potentially have to pick up enterprise agreement rates of clients that they never contemplated they'd have to deal with that complexity and deal with those on costs as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reid. That's my time, Chair. I just want to compliment you because I wish bureaucrats could answer this as precisely and comprehensively as you could in Senate estimates.
That's very nice of you, Senator. Thank you.